The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a sickly yellow glow across the empty food court of the old Willow Creek Mall. It was 1 a.m., and I shouldn't have been there. But the security gig paid better than my last job slinging burgers, and I needed the cash. My name's Ryan, 24, stuck in a dead-end town in northern Michigan, where the mall, closed since the 90s, was the only landmark left. The air smelled of mildew and stale popcorn, the kind of damp rot that clings to abandoned places. I was on my third night patrol, boots echoing on cracked tiles, when I found it. A rusted maintenance hatch behind the shuttered arcade, half hidden by a pile of broken chairs. The lock was busted, and a faint draft carried a sour, meaty stench from below. Against every instinct, I pried it open, revealing a concrete stairwell descending into darkness. Something about it felt wrong, like the mall itself was breathing, urging me down. I should have walked away, but curiosity, or stupidity, pulled me into the nightmare beneath. I'm no hero, just a guy trying to scrape by after dropping out of community college. Willow Creek was a ghost town even before the mall shut down, its stores gutted when the auto plant closed. I took the job because it was easy. Walk the halls, check the locks, scare off kids looking for a place to smoke. But that hatch wasn't on any blueprint they gave me. My flashlight beam trembled as I descended, the stairs slick with condensation, the air growing colder and heavier with that rancid smell. At the bottom, a corridor stretched endlessly, concrete walls slick with black mold, lit by a single flickering bulb dangling from a frayed wire. The silence was oppressive, broken only by a faint, wet gurgle, like something breathing through water. I called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed, unanswered, but the gurgle stopped, replaced by a low mumble, barely audible, like a crowd whispering in unison. My skin prickled. Why was I down there? I told myself it was the job, check every corner, but deep down I felt drawn, like the mall wanted me to see what it hid. That was my first mistake. The corridor seemed to stretch forever, the bulb's light fading behind me as I moved deeper. My flashlight caught shapes on the floor, bodies, dozens of them, sprawled across the concrete like discarded dolls. They were human, or had been, their skin gray and sagging, melting into the floor in viscous pools of flesh. Some faces looked familiar: the cashier from the gas station, the librarian who'd shushed me as a kid, even my old math teacher. His glasses cracked and fused to his face. Their eyes were open, milky, staring at nothing, yet their lips twitched, mumbling incoherently. "Help, stay, join." The words overlapped, a chorus of despair. I tried to scream, but my throat locked, my voice stolen by the weight of their gaze. My heart pounded as I stepped over them, careful not to touch the oozing flesh that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The walls glistened, not just with mold, but with something organic, veins of tissue weaving through the concrete like roots. At the corridor's end, a rusted metal door loomed, its surface scratched with frantic claw marks. What were these things, and why did they know me? I reached the door, my hand shaking as I gripped the handle. It creaked open, revealing a mannequin standing in the threshold, its blank face tilted as if watching me. Its plastic limbs were cracked, stained with dark streaks that looked like dried blood. Beyond it, a dark, cavernous space yawned. An abandoned store, but wrong, a twisted mirror of the mall above. Empty display racks stood like skeletons, their metal twisted into unnatural shapes. The air was thick with dust, and that same meaty stench, now mixed with a faint sweetness, like rotting fruit. My flashlight flickered, casting shadows that moved when I didn't. I stepped inside, the mannequin's head jerking slightly as I passed, as if it sensed me. The mumbling from the corridor followed, louder now, echoing in the dark. "Stay, join." I spun around, but the door was gone, replaced by a smooth wall, trapping me. My breath caught, fogging in the cold air. The store felt alive, its walls shifting subtly, like lungs expanding. I wasn't alone. What was watching me? The store stretched impossibly large, aisles winding like a maze. Broken mannequins lined the shelves, their poses unnatural, some reaching out, Others crouched as if ready to pounce. Their faces were blank, but I swore their heads turned to follow me. My flashlight caught glimpses of familiar objects. A toy truck I'd owned as a kid, rusted and half melted. A dress like one my mom wore before she left town, now shredded and stained. Echoes of my past, twisted into this nightmare. The mumbling grew into a chant, voices layering over each other, some pleading, some angry. "You left us. You belong here." I stumbled, my foot catching on a soft mass. A body half fused to the floor, its face a grotesque version of my high school best friend Tim, who died in a car crash senior year. His lips moved, whispering my name, Ryan. I backed away, heart racing, as the floor pulsed beneath me, sticky and warm. The air grew heavier, pressing on my chest, and a low hum vibrated through the walls, like the mall was singing its own dirge. I had to find a way out, but what if the mall wouldn't let me go? I ran, the aisles twisting, leading me deeper into the store. The mannequins moved now, not fast, but deliberate, limbs creaking as they shifted to block paths. One grabbed at my jacket, its plastic fingers cold as ice, leaving a sticky residue on my sleeve. I yanked free, my flashlight dropping, its beam spinning wildly across the ceiling, revealing more bodies embedded in the walls, their limbs twitching like insects caught in a web. The hum grew louder, words forming. "Stay, become." I reached another door, this one wooden, painted with a faded mural of the mall's grand opening in '85. Smiling families, bright balloons, now peeling and distorted. I shoved it open, tumbling into a stairwell that mirrored the one I'd descended, but upward this time. The mumbling chased me, now a scream. "You can't leave." I climbed, lungs burning, until I burst through another hatch, back into the mall's food court, the same flickering lights, the same stale air. I collapsed, gasping, thinking I'd escaped. But my relief died when I saw the arcade. Its machines were on, screens glowing with static, and my reflection in the glass showed a face not quite mine, eyes too wide, skin too pale. Had I brought something back with me? I stumbled out of the mall, the night air biting, but the stench of rot clung to me. My car was still in the lot, keys shaking in my hand as I drove home. The next day I called in sick, but the news hit me like a punch. Willow Creek Mall was set for demolition, but workers found a network of tunnels beneath, sealed since the '80s, filled with strange organic growths and human remains, some recent, some decades old. No one mentioned bodies in the walls, but I knew. I checked my jacket. The sticky residue was gone, but my skin itched like something was under it. Online forums whispered about the mall. A '90s security guard vanishing. A janitor in '87 reporting living walls. Kids sneaking in and never coming out. One post claimed the mall was built over a sinkhole tied to old native legends of a hungry earth that trapped souls. At night I hear it now, the mumbling, faint from my walls, my floor. My reflection still looks wrong, and sometimes in the dark, I feel plastic fingers brush my neck. I quit the job, moved across town, but last night my TV flickered on, showing the mall's food court, empty except for a mannequin in the corner, turning its head toward me. The final horror hit when I checked my phone's photos. A selfie from that night, taken before the hatch, shows me in the food court. Behind me, a figure, tall and plastic, smiling without a face. If you're near Willow Creek, stay away from the mall. It's gone now, but what's beneath it isn't, and it knows my name. You know that little knot of dread in your gut when you're a kid? The one that twists tighter in the dark? The kind that makes every shadow a monster, every creak a step closer to doom. I never shook it off. Not really. My name's Steve, and even now at 45, sitting in this quiet house on the edge of town, I can feel it coiling up again. It's been years since Johnny and I were boys, running errands through the twilight streets of our little Wisconsin town. But the lonesome place, it never left me. That abandoned grain elevator at the edge of the lumberyard, squatting like a forgotten giant amid the stacks of wood and the overgrown weeds. It was our nightmare made real. We gave it life with our fear. And God help me, I think we unleashed something that shouldn't have been. Bobby Jeffers paid the price, and sometimes, late at night, I wonder if it's still out there, waiting for the next scared kid to feed it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, when the dark was bigger than the world. Back in the early 50s, our town was the kind of place where kids roamed free until the streetlights buzzed on. Johnny Newell and I were inseparable. Two scrawny 10-year-olds with bikes and slingshots, dreaming of adventures but terrified of the ordinary shadows. The lumberyard sat on the outskirts, a sprawl of pine stacks and rusted machinery, and right in the heart of it loomed the grain elevator. It was old even then, its wooden sides weathered gray, silos cracked like broken teeth against the sky. During the day, it was just a relic, a spot where workers unloaded trucks and kids dared each other to climb the rickety ladders. But at dusk, when the sun dipped behind the hills and the yard fell silent, it became the lonesome place. No lights, no people, just endless shadows pooling like ink, the wind whispering through the gaps in the wood, carrying smells of damp earth and decay. Locals avoided it after dark. Old-timers muttered about accidents back in the 30s, workers crushed under falling grain or vanishing without a trace. Johnny and I heard the stories at school, whispered in the playground, a faceless thing that lurked there, born from the loneliness, feeding on fear. We laughed them off in the light, but come evening, that knot would tighten. It started innocent enough. My mom would send me to the corner store for milk or bread, right as the sky turned purple. "Be quick, Steve," she'd say, oblivious to the terror in my eyes. The route took me straight past the lumberyard. No shortcuts, just that long stretch of gravel road flanked by towering wood piles. I'd pedal hard at first, heart pounding, but as the yard came into view, I'd slow, gripping the handlebars until my knuckles whitened. The elevator rose like a sentinel, its doors gaping black holes, shadows twisting inside like living things. I'd imagine it watching me, that faceless monster the stories describe, clawed feet scraping the dirt, scaly hide blending with the wood, a long tail swishing silently, and worst of all, no face, just a void where eyes should be, sucking in the light. I'd whisper to myself, "It's not real," but the wind would answer with a low moan, and I'd pedal faster, breath ragged, until I was past it. One night, I swore I heard footsteps behind me, soft, padding, like something big but stealthy. I didn't look back. I just flew home, slamming the door, Mom's puzzled look burning my cheeks with shame. But that was only the start. Johnny made it real. Johnny lived 2 blocks over, and we'd swap tales under the big oak in his yard, voices low like conspirators. "It almost got me last night," he said one evening, pulling up his shirt to show a rip in the fabric, threads frayed like claws had snagged it. His eyes were wide, face pale under the freckles. "I was coming back from the drugstore, and I heard it, knocking over lumber like it was climbing down from the elevator. I ran, Steve, but it was close. Felt its breath on my neck." I nodded, my own story spilling out. The night before, I'd frozen halfway past, the shadows seeming to reach out, a guttural growl vibrating through the ground. We built it up together, that monster. Added details like sharp teeth, hidden in the void of its face, arms long enough to snatch you from the path. "It's the lonesomeness," Johnny said, echoing the old folks. "It hates the light, waits for kids like us who know it's there." We'd huddle closer, the fear thrilling and terrifying, a secret bond. But deep down, we knew it was our imagination, or so we told ourselves. Why didn't we just avoid it? The town was small, every errand led that way, and admitting the fear to our parents, they'd laugh, call us babies. So we endured, night after night, the lonesome place growing in our minds like a cancer. The summers blurred, but the fear didn't fade. It sharpened. We'd dare each other sometimes, standing at the yard's edge as dusk fell, tossing rocks into the shadows, listening for a response. Once, a board clattered down, and we bolted laughing hysterically until we were safe under streetlights. But alone, it was different. I'd lie awake, replaying the pass, the way the elevator's silhouette blocked the stars, the rustle in the weeds that could be wind or something slithering. Dreams came, nightmares where the faceless thing caught me. its void face swallowing my screams, claws digging into my skin. Johnny had them too. We'd compare in whispers at school. "What if it's real?" he'd ask. "What if our thinking about it makes it stronger?" I shrugged it off, but the idea stuck. A seed of guilt sprouted. The town whispered more stories. A dog found mangled near the yard. A hobo who vanished after camping there. We avoided the lonesome place by day 2, biking the long way around. But errands forced us back, each trip a gauntlet. One night stands out. Rain slicked the gravel, thunder rumbling distant. I had to fetch flour for Mom, the store closing soon. The yard was a black maze, water dripping from the wood stacks like tears. Halfway past, a shape detached from the elevator, tall, hunched, moving with unnatural grace. I pedaled blind, tires slipping, crashing home soaked and sobbing. "Just the storm," Mom said, but I knew better. It had seen me. Years passed. We grew. By 13, the fear ebbed. Puberty, girls, baseball games pushing it aside. The elevator was torn down in '58. The yard cleared for a new warehouse that never came. The lonesome place became just a vacant lot, overgrown with weeds, a spot teens parked to make out. Johnny and I laughed about our monster, calling it kid stuff. We drifted a bit, high school, jobs, but stayed friends. Life moved on. I got a job at the mill, Johnny at the garage. The town stayed small, unchanged. Then came the night that shattered everything. It was October '62, leaves crunching underfoot, air crisp with fall. Bobby Jeffers, a kid of 12, went missing after an errand to the store. Search parties combed the woods, but they found him the next morning, in the old lonesome place lot. Mauled, they said, by a wild animal, maybe a bear or coyote pack. But the wounds, deep gashes like claws, flesh torn in strips, his face gone, just a bloody void. The sheriff called it tragic, buried quick. But Johnny and I knew. We met at the oak tree, faces ashen. "It was it," Johnny whispered. "Our thing. We made it real with our fear, and when we stopped, it needed new ones." Guilt crushed me. Bobby was like us, probably scared of the dark, his imagination feeding the beast we birthed. Had our stories spread, planting the seed in other kids? Or was it always there, waiting for fear to give it form? The guilt ate at us. We avoided each other, the town, the lot. I'd drive by sometimes, windows up, glimpsing shadows that seemed to move. Dreams returned, the faceless thing now with Bobby's blood on its claws, whispering, "You left me hungry." Johnny drank more, lost his job. One night he called, voice slurred, "I saw it, Steve, in the lot. It's still there." I hung up but couldn't sleep. The next day, another kid went missing, found similarly mauled. Panic gripped the town. Curfews, hunts for the animal. But Johnny and I knew the truth. Our unchecked dread had manifested something sinister, or awakened what lurked in the lonesome place's silence. We confronted it one foggy evening, armed with flashlights and shotguns, standing in the weeds where the elevator once stood. "Come out!" I yelled, voice cracking. The wind answered, carrying a low growl. Shadows shifted, a shape emerging. Tall, scaled, tail flicking, face a swirling void. It lunged, claws outstretched. Johnny fired, the blast echoing, but it vanished like smoke. We ran, but the damage was done. No more killings, but the guilt lingered. Johnny moved away, letters sparse. Me? I stayed, watching the lot, knowing it's waiting. Decades on, the town's grown. The lot paved over for a park. Kids play there, fearless. But I see it in their eyes sometimes, a flicker of dread at dusk. The lonesome place isn't gone. It's in us, fed by fear. Bobby's death was our fault. We gave it substance. If you're passing a dark spot after sunset, don't imagine too hard. You might unleash what's waiting, or reveal what's always been there, hungry for a crack to slip through. And if you hear claws in the wind, run, just run.